Minute.
It has been.
Where
We've
have you
both
been?
been busy.
I think you've been
You
way more busy than I have this time.
didn't you have something like the week before I had something?
Yes,
You were
unfortunately.
in New York.
Travel. Yes. I'm
Where
really
were
bad
you
at
in?
traveling and podcasting for some reason. I can't seem to figure it
Well, I mean, I have every time I think, okay, this trip I'm going to like plan ahead. I'm gonna bring microphones and bring stuff, and then I always forget like that one cable that I
out.
need
Right.
to put everything together. It's like can't do it. So
I think I'm getting better at not having like the whole kit. Like this is my AirPods and Apple webcam. I apologize to the audience for the lack of quality.
yes.
However, I do feel like being able to get into a point where you're able to get rid of like the need for a lot of stuff helps while you're traveling. My problem is time zones. I get really like I'll set the meeting and then I'll forget to
Hmm.
change my calendar. So then like
Yeah.
things would get all wonky because you have to change the time zone that your calendar's in and et cetera for it to
Right.
display. But that's literally what happened to me last time. I had it in my schedule, but I'd forgotten to change the calendar or something. And I was just getting in from the airport at that time and didn't realize it. Bleh. Yes,
Wow. No,
that
I
is what
just
happened. But
realized I forgot something. I
uh-oh.
forgot something critical. Hold on, hold
Oh
on,
no.
hold on, hold on.
Color
We
correction. Yeah,
gotta
you look a
get
little
the
bit green.
color correction. White set.
For the
Uh,
audience, for the regular viewers
there
here,
we go.
Matt is wearing a
Don't need
Joiner
that side.
Division
Just need that
shirt,
side.
yes, which should be gray or black, so they should match. I guess is how we
Yes.
know he was slightly off.
Yeah. All right. That's better.
That's a nice callback. Nice shirt. It looks like you got in better material than I did. You didn't get the hefty Hanes tee.
No, no. It is that Hefty Hanes shirt.
Oh, is
I
it?
feel
Okay.
like. Is it? I can't read it.
I can't read it. When you moved it though,
Uh,
I could tell it had that like that thick
yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
feel
That
to it. Yeah.
it's not like the cool.
Oh, the infra shirts.
I need to send you one of these. The cool
Oh
infra
man,
shirt. It's got the
nice.
same printing as the Datadog shirts.
That's good.
Yeah.
Slightly
So
worn. You gotta have your shirts look a little bit
yeah.
more worn, right? Yeah.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, we all seven of us that work at the company, we wore every shirt ahead of no. Every shirt we gave away, we wore it for 3 days,
At least
didn't
10
wash them.
loads.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're field tested, battle hardened. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. Um
So where were you? Where have you been? What have you been up to? I
let's
have so
see.
many questions.
I had SecurityCon, which was a CNCF conference.
Hmm.
And that was Infra's first conference that we've done as a
Right.
company. So that was super
Right.
exciting. Um, we borrowed the Datadog way of doing conferences where we've got demoers and grabbers,
Right.
or and somebody is out on the kind of on the show floor saying hi to folks, bring them into the booth,
Nice.
and then we got the demoers, and we're a small company, so it's two
Hmm.
demoers because we have a startup booth, which is basically a 6 foot
Yep.
table.
Right.
But we got the two demoers. We used some of those portable USB-C screens. So we had
Oh,
the
I haven't seen
laptops.
those. Sweet.
Oh no! A laptop that's pointed. We're sitting behind the table, and the other person's
Right.
on the other side. So we've got the laptop. We're looking at the laptop, but on
Right.
the other side, there's this. It's a 17-inch monitor,
That's pretty good.
and they can look. It's tilted down, so it's tilted up, so they can see it from their standing position. And yeah, that worked really, really, really well.
That's
So there
awesome.
were the other thing you see at a lot of conferences is the rental TV monitor that comes on the
Right.
massive stand, heavy,
Yeah.
heavy duty stand.
Yeah.
And people who had those in the startup booth, I mean, that takes up like half the booth is just this
Yeah.
stand
It's
for
massive.
the TV. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it needs to handle all sorts of stupid people banging it or dropping it, and these big monitors. And as soon as I saw them, I thought, oh, maybe I should have ordered one of those. But within a few minutes, oh no, it was good that we went with this approach with these monitors. I think for next time, we'll probably have stands that raise the monitors up a little bit so that's closer
Oh,
to
okay, it's
the
more eye level.
person.
Yeah,
Yeah, but in general, this worked out great, and we had our infra stickers, which were very popular, as well as the T-shirts. I mean, there were a bunch of people that came up and said, "Oh no, I got I got enough T-shirts. I don't need any more T-shirts." So, feel them, feel,
yeah.
just feel it, and they say, "Oh, that feels good.
That's
Okay, I'll
well.
have a
I think
T-shirt."
that the fact that you actually care about the shirt, like I
Yeah,
know the way you're saying is like feel the material kind of thing, but it shows that you've put some thought into it, which I
yeah,
think hopefully resonates with the brand value, that kind
yeah.
of stuff. But yeah, when you show somebody that it's
In
a
fact,
quality shirt, then I think they're
we did a first printing of 12 shirts just to make sure, and it turned out the shirts were the logo and the typeface was a little bit too far apart, and so we kind of
fair enough.
squeezed them together, made the size overall size of it similar to. I mean, what the Datadog shirt is like a, I don't know, a case study in like perfection. Um,
Oh, okay,
and so we tried to really match the proportions and all of the of that shirt. So
that's awesome.
um, yeah,
And
it
and
was
stickers went well too. Yeah,
stickers were, yeah, they were fantastic. I had printed or three sets of stickers. One with the logo with the infra afterwards,
right,
and those were great. But I did two others which were just the circle, but you couldn't tell which way was up, and so that
right.
wasn't. Um,
Not as popular.
but yeah, stickers were super popular. And so I think we're in good shape for just basically shipping boxes over to Amsterdam for KubeCon. That's our next conference that we're sponsoring.
Fantastic. And
So
and those are
yeah,
both CNCF conferences, right? How was the
yeah,
security con?
it was great. A lot of so I mean, we have a different view than a lot of participants because most people are there to
Right,
attend the talks. I didn't actually attend
right.
a single talk, but actually no, I did
Okay,
attend
so
one
just
talk.
in terms of the organization, I guess.
Well, I
Which
did
stuff did
one
you go
talk,
to?
and that was the talk that we gave. One of our employees was accepted as a speaker. Um,
That's awesome.
he talked about JOT and best practices around JWTs,
Mhm.
JavaScript Web Tokens. Um, and but in general, it seemed like it was really well managed, really well organized, and um, we had I mean, how many people actually attended it? It's kind of hard to say. Probably around 400, 500 people. It was
That's a good
definitely
turnout, though.
fewer than they had hoped and
Right.
fewer than they had said would show up. But it's also one of the earlier conferences post
Yeah.
COVID. So people are still a little skittish about being with people in person.
And is this the
Um,
first time this brand of this conference has happened, or has this
yeah,
been a
this is the
regular thing?
first. So it's
Okay, because
been
I'd not heard
a
of it
like
before.
a
That's why I asked.
day. It's been like an attached day to probably KubeCon, but this is the first time
Gotcha.
it's been its own conference. Um,
Gotcha.
and there were a number of people that stopped by our booth that said, I just found out about it yesterday, and I just flew up from San Francisco, or I got here from I live in the area, and so th- yeah, it could have been more people, but for us, it was a great chance to try out our message, or
Yeah.
try out our
Yeah.
booth presence, our action plan, um, and
Yeah, because there's a lot that goes
and
into it.
like
Like, if you've got
yeah,
that TV, it's got to get there, or that monitor, or
yeah,
whatever, and then you need to
yeah,
like. Sometimes there's a tablecloth that you need to put down. Like people don't
yeah,
understand, but there's actually like not a fair amount of planning, but there is some planning in getting the
yeah,
table to like look right, have power to do your demos, that kind of thing.
right,
So it's good that you've got like some way to go through that prior to KubeCon, which is like a
yeah,
massive, massive deal.
yeah. I mean, we had the banner printed up, and we put a lot of thought into that banner. Although all it has is just a really big version of our logo and the word infra, and that's it. There's no description of what we do because we're still pretty early on, and
Hmm.
big parts of the product pivot, and so we wanted to be pretty generic in I mean, show the brand name, and the same thing with the tablecloth. I mean, I had a tablecloth printed up that had, again, the logo really big, kind of overlapping, almost a little bit just you're not really sure what it is, but then the big words
Right.
infra, and that worked out really well. And ours were definitely the best shirts at the conference.
That's good.
But yeah, it was good. It was a good show.
That's
Oh,
awesome.
is that a comment?
Oh no.
No, it's not.
Shoot.
No,
Oh,
it's not really.
interesting. Oh, people
I want to
trying
offer
to sell
promotion
us
of your
stuff.
channel.
Oof, oof. But we
Um,
got promotion. Don't worry. Sorry, studios.
but
We're all over the promo here. How was the feedback? Like, did you like for the talk? Was there any like feedback loop or anything where they send in feedback after the talk? Okay,
I don't know. I haven't. I'm not sure about that. I've been out until yesterday because
fair enough.
it wasn't my only thing I was doing the last few weeks.
Gotcha.
So there was SecurityCon, and then a week after that, so our company is mostly in Toronto and Vancouver, BC,
Okay.
and not Vancouver, Washington, but Vancouver, BC, and then
Yep.
one guy down in Palo Alto. And so we got an Airbnb in Capitol Hill, and we all came together and stayed at that Airbnb and kind of met. We're small enough to fit in a house,
That's pretty cool.
and we talked about our plans going forward, and different kinds of activities there. So that was great. And then everybody came over to my house on Bainbridge Island, and we had a
Nice.
little bit of post event kind of debrief, as well as just having a little bit of fun at the
That's
end.
really cool.
And so it was amazing. And then Friday comes along. Friday, well, I guess they all go back to the hotel, and Saturday morning they all flew back to all parts Canada and San Francisco. And so then on Monday, I think, yeah, Monday. Then I flew to Tampa, Florida, and went
Oh,
to
right, the big trip.
StivoCon.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was amazing to go to. It was one of the first conferences that I've gone to just purely as a speaker, not speaker
Right.
/ demo or booth duty or anything, just purely as a speaker. And that was amazing. It was so much fun.
Yeah.
And they had managed to collect like all the Kubernetes and Docker personalities plus me, and have them all in one place. So Victor Farchik was there, Brett Fisher, and so many others that I've been watching their videos on YouTube
Right.
and other places for ages, and they were all there. It was
That's awesome.
amazing. The guy behind Raw Code, who lives somewhere in Scotland. There were just so many that were just really interesting to see and to attend some of their sessions. And then I gave my session about what's it called? What was my title?
What was I
I am
talking about
cluster
again?
admin, destroyer of all you hold dear.
That sounds about right. Which used to be everybody. So yeah.
Yeah. So that was a lot of fun. And then on Thursday I flew back from that, and then on the Saturday, so 2 days later, got on a plane with my wife, my 4-year-old daughter, my mother, and my wife's mother. We all got on a plane and flew to Orlando, which is pretty close to Tampa, but I flew back to Seattle and back to.
It's like I'm not great at geography, but I think they're both in Florida at least.
So I did all that mostly because, well, okay, my mother is 85.
Right.
Tony's mother is younger than that, but also, and our 4-year-old daughter. There's 3 people that are not really able to go through airports alone.
I need some help.
Need some help. I I mean, okay, granted, one of them is more competent than the rest going through these airports. Stella, our 4-year-old, is really good and really quite
So this
independent.
is
But
your
the other
wife you're
two,
talking about? Yeah, not you.
yeah. And so just my wife just needed mate. I couldn't do that to her just to do it alone.
Yeah.
So I went to help with corralling them, and it wasn't too bad. And yeah, then we went to we stayed at the Wilderness Lodge at
Cool.
Disney World, which was amazing. Oh, God,
Yeah.
it's this is well, there's Wilderness Lodge for the first 6 or 7 nights, and then the Yacht Club or Beach Club at Disney
Okay.
World as
Heard of.
well, which is also a wonderful hotel just for the last night. And one thing that you notice with Disney World is the employees, the cast members are
Right.
so they're all like empowered to do the right thing for the customer. Like on the first night at Epcot Center, we all have these magic bands on, and the magic bands allow you to just kind
Right.
of tap to get through to your lightning lanes to go, to the front of the line. Um, at some point late in the evening, so in the morning to the afternoon, we'd all be there as all of us, and then we'd go back to the Wilderness Lodge and my mother, her mother, and our daughter would
Hmm.
stay there the rest of the day, just relaxing, resting, while Tony and I would go back to the park and stay there until closing, which was like 11 p.m. for Epcot and 1 a.m. for Magic Kingdom and other
Oh
time,
wow.
for Hollywood and
Okay.
for Animal Kingdom. But at some point towards the end of the evening at Epcot, Tony lost her band.
Wow.
And we didn't know where. And the band, okay, they're 30 bucks. So not incredibly expensive, but you don't want to keep losing it.
Right. Yeah.
Um, and so we did another ride after that. We went on Ratatouille's Adventure or something like that, which was amazing. And then we decided, okay, I think we've seen everything. We've seen Guardians of the Galaxy and all of the other amazing rides there, and started heading straight back to the gate. Well, thought, well, let's just go into guest relations, just see if they can tell us what our options are for getting another band.
Right.
Expecting nothing, and and say, well, we lost this band. And says, well, what's your name? What color was it? And we said what it was, and they go in back and they had the band right there, and it's like a little Ziploc ready. It's like, here,
That's awesome.
oh, this is you. um and it was just like it was there. And when we had left an item in one of the hotel rooms, even though it was not, I don't think this person I talked to was in like bell services or
Right.
housekeeping, but they made sure that they stayed with me. And while they tracked down where, if this water bottle was still in the room, it was. They brought it down. They brought it over to the desk where, this person was
That's so
waiting
cool.
with me to ensure that I had a great experience. And there were lots of other, we saw, um, we bought these, there's like an extra add-on to the ticket called Park Hopper, which lets you, after
Okay.
2 p.m., bounce around to a different park. We ended up not using it because we just stayed in one park the whole time. And I bought it for 5 people, 5 park hoppers, which
Wow.
basically added, $250 to the overall bill. And we went in saying, well, we didn't use this. Is it possible to, get some of that back? Says, oh no, we'll refund you the total amount for the park hoppers. We got our money
Holy
back. It
shoot.
was like,
Nice.
so I, almost everyone at Disney World, all the people working there, they were just amazing. It was a great experience.
That's really cool.
So
I
now
wonder if they
the
kind
thing
of like
I
added into the price or something like that. You know what I mean? To get you
yeah,
that premium experience. They
yeah,
pad a little bit, but I feel like most people will want that though. You're like your
yeah,
average customer at the kind of what
right,
water park sort of thing. Expect that sort of
yeah.
service.
Now one thing that is, I guess, annoying, but
Hmm.
I can't see a way around it, is there's this other thing, add on. You could keep adding more things on to the price. So there's the
Right.
ticket, which was like averages out to about $110 a day, to get
Okay.
into all the parks. So 4 days, that's about 400 and something dollars. But then you have to pay this for Genie Plus. So there's the
Hmm.
Genie thing, which is part of the app, which lets you like see how long the lines are at different rides. And
Ah,
then there's Genie Plus, which gets you access to the lightning lanes. And that
gotcha.
costs a variable amount depending on how popular, how many people are showing up that day. The more people that
Interesting.
show up, the higher that cost goes. Up to the last day we were there, it was $29 for
Mm.
just access to these Genie Plus or Lightning lanes. But if you don't get it, your experience at Disney World is going to be miserable because you're going to be waiting in
Right.
line for
Right.
forever. And so, and then for some rides, you have to pay an additional, basically the same cost for just that one ride.
Right.
So, Rise of the Resistance, the Star Wars ride, which is spectacular, um, we had to pay another, $22. It was just Tony and I, $22 each to be able to skip to the front of that line, which
Right.
was totally worth it because the alternative was sitting in line for 4 hours. Why
Fair
would
enough.
somebody
Yeah.
4 hours? So,
Fair enough.
I mean, granted, we had to when we booked that, the point in line that we got was like 7 hours later, but we could go and enjoy stuff for 7 hours rather than
Gotcha. At
sitting in
least
this
then you had
hot,
like a specific
hot
time
line.
you can go in. Yeah. The,
Yeah,
the other thing that's interesting is that they opened up to a market. Essentially, what you're saying is that depending
yeah,
on demand, the price will go up and
yeah,
go down, which serves them obviously. But there's an incentive for you too to
yeah.
like skip ahead of the line on a less busy day. So it kind of evens out.
Right.
I kind of like that
Yeah.
those forces that work. Listen, I'm
And
not a
and
free
if
market
I'm not
apologist or
stuck in
anything, but it makes it a lot easier. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Exactly.
if I'm not stuck in line, I am more able to buy
Yeah.
lunch or do
And you're less
all the
frustrated. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. They can plan how much staff do they need at the ride. But all these,
Right.
I think back to I remember once I was talking with somebody who was um DevOps kind of guy at Sears,
Okay.
and they were talking about similar stuff, similar but in a different way, where they
Right.
Sears was tracking who bought, where did people buy like refrigerators and washing machines, um, and and different sales would be put on regionally at different times of the year, and because of that, they knew that certain parts would fail after say 10 years in a washer, so they knew there was going to be this cluster of washers that would m- likely fail, parts would fail in 10 years time, and so they could move repair people around to make sure that the repair people were in the region and available when
That's
it
smart.
was likely to see a lot of repairs for this item. I don't know how true that was, but this was what one ops guy told me once,
Yeah,
which
or maybe
I
a
was
plan
like,
or something like that.
yeah. So a much longer time scale that they're dealing with, but
Right.
similar idea. We know we've got all this data about our customers, and so therefore we know that they're going to need some extra services from us by leveraging this data, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, I think the data-driven stuff around, like, predictive maintenance, because that's something
Yeah,
I worked at a previous company, is very interesting in that, 1, like, it's an indicator, like you're saying, it's like, "Hey, we
yeah,
need more people." Also, it kinda tells you a little bit about market demand, and hopefully helps you, like, make things that are more resistant, which is, like, kind of
yeah,
the last thing we talked about, but, like,
yeah.
ideally, if you know this is happening, you catch it prior to it breaking,
Right,
especially for
right.
some of the gear that we were dealing with, like earth movers, like really big
Yeah.
machines.
Oh yeah.
When they fail, it could mean, somebody could get hurt or something
Right, right.
catastrophic could happen at the
Yeah.
site, so it's pretty serious.
Proactively send
Um,
out the repair part.
yeah, whereas a washing machine, I feel like the risk, the
Yeah,
tolerance is higher for risk, basically.
yeah,
But I do like the fact that we're starting to get into a spot now where we're like able to one like tell you like, hey, get an extended warranty, and that actually makes sense, which is great.
yep,
Because like a lot of times it's just throwaway money, but
yep,
also hopefully making things better so that there's less repair,
yep,
but maybe that also means like the cost of the item goes up, and like
yep.
there's some weird economies of scale and things like that that are
Right.
involved. But I do like the fact that we're using machine learning for something that's honestly becoming like a lost art, which is just repairing stuff instead of throwing them out. Like I'd
Yeah,
like to see more
yeah,
repairing of old tech and stuff like
yeah.
that. So it's good to see. especially human in
Yeah.
the loop. So when you're talking about like this model that predicts when it's going to happen and reaching out to people and saying, hey, it looks like
Right.
you might need to come in for failure. So that's super cool. I
Yeah.
love seeing like DevOps getting rid of toil in the real world as opposed to like, CI/CD is important. Don't get me
Yeah.
wrong, like Terraform, et cetera, et cetera. But it's cool to see that actually where the rubber meets the road, where people are actually doing this live
Right.
is super, super cool to me.
Yeah.
So you like
Cool.
Disney? What was your favorite part?
What's favorite park?
Yeah.
Uh, I was. I think Tony and I both had. We came up with our list of favorite places, and um, I think um, the Hollywood whatever land park I think was the most disappointing. We both love Star Wars, and the Star Wars area was really cool, but there wasn't really much you could do there. So it feels like it was a bit of a wasted opportunity. Um, and and so that was definitely our lowest. Bump down. If you only have 3 days, skip Hollywood. As cool as the Star Wars stuff was, yeah, can skip that. Now it'll be interesting to see what happens with. They have that Galactic Star Cruiser hotel,
Right. Right.
which is a separate thing. You pay, I think it's like a couple, about $1,000 or $1,500 per person per experience, and it's a 2-day experience, something like that. And then there's a range depending on the class of room you get, which isn't crazy amount more than the regular rooms, and um, but apparently not enough people were signing on to it. I mean, it's got all sorts of restrictions,
Interesting.
like you have to be over a certain age to, you can't be under, I think, 10 years old. Um,
Okay.
and so it's for adults or older kids as well. So that would mean we can't do it for,
Right.
a bunch more years. Um, but because they had so few signups for it or reservations for it, they're closing it down. And it's only been open for a year and a half,
Oh
and they spent
no.
a lot of money on this thing.
Oh no.
But because it is relatively close to the Star Wars area of Hollywood Studios, maybe it becomes an extension of that, and they're able to leverage
Gotcha.
it somehow, which would be pretty interesting. And that would definitely solve that problem of, it's kind of cool, but I wish there was more here. Um,
Right.
but our favorite was absolutely Epcot. Epcot had
Really?
uh, the best of I mean, because it has Guardians of the Galaxy, and a bunch of other rides that, like, the World Showcase now has rides. Like the Frozen
Cool.
ride was pretty great, and the
Nice.
Ratatouille ride was amazing. The Mexico ride is the same thing that's been there for 30 years, but it's also pretty nice. Um, and so I think we had the most fun at Epcot, followed by Magic Kingdom, pretty closely. Um, of course, this depends on, if you go there on a day where they close at 9 p.m. or 7, whatever the closing time is, there's probably going to be a little bit extra time if you're staying on property. So I think the regular closing time for Magic Kingdom was like 11 o'clock, but because we were staying on at Disney World, our time we had to leave was 1 a.m.
Okay.
And then, it's really limited to the park is limited to just people who are actually staying on property, which is a lot less than everyone else. And so
Right.
you have a lot more time and there's fewer people that are in lines. And so we saw a bunch of things because there were like 10-minute lines, 5-minute lines. Really, it was only 5 or 10 minutes because you physically have to walk. I mean, you're walking as fast as you can walk, but you've got to go a
Right.
long way in that line
Right.
because the lines are kind of pretty fixed. Um, and then Animal Kingdom. We didn't see all of Animal Kingdom, but we knew that we'd
Hmm.
be back another time and we could see it then.
Fair enough.
But yeah, yeah, Hollywood. Yeah. Have you
Fair enough.
been?
And I have not. This is why I'm asking so many questions. And I'm also curious about
Yeah.
that app because I know the app is like It's one of those things that they touted, that they've talked about at conferences and stuff like
Yeah,
that. But how was the app experience? Because like one of them is being able to check the length of the line, which is something they talked about a
right,
lot, which is
right.
pretty important. Like everybody wants to
Yeah,
monitor a queue, right? Like to put it in
yeah,
our kind of terms. Like you want to know, hey, how busy is it? Is it
yeah,
worth my time even going in? That kind of thing. I'm
yeah,
assuming you're on iPhone, both of you.
yeah. On the iPhone. Now, it was pretty good as long as you stayed in the app, but sometimes, depending on what you're doing, it'll bounce you out to the website.
Okay,
Now, I've met plenty of people that work at Disney on the DevOps kind of
right.
side, and developers, and who are like building really cool stuff, and they are super
Yeah.
bright, super great people, and yet the web experience is garbage. The whole creating setting up reservations for the hotel is so annoying. There's they have 36 resorts on property, 36 places that you can stay. And so you have to say, well, I'm interested in this period of time from we checked in on a Sunday and we checked out on a Sunday, I think. And so those are the days. Nope, nothing available. You can't say, well, is there anything available next day? No. You have to okay, well, choose another 7
Start
days.
over.
Okay, from this day to this day. Nope. Oh, actually, no. Actually, it's even worse. It's this day to this day, and then it lists you a bunch of resorts that are possibly available, and then you have to click on each one individually to see are the rooms that you want for the number of people that you want. Oh, actually, no. That room that we said something was available and for those days, there's actually nothing available for your party size. So go back a couple levels back, and
Oh
if you
man.
like try to create, like a command tab to open it up in a new tab, yeah, that don't work. You got to stay in the same tab, so you're bouncing back, and then checking a different date, going to each of the hotels. Now, luckily there are, to get those extra hours you have to go into the like premium hotels, so that
Right.
limits you to about, I don't know, 7 to 10 different hotels. But still, it's this all this bouncing around and then going back, and if you choose like a Sunday to Sunday and just one of the Sundays is full, well, that means your whole stay is not, it's no, there's no room.
Oh,
So you
shoot.
got to keep playing with different days, and then, and in fact, and this has been a problem for forever. When
Right.
we used to go, my mother was telling me about how we would stay at Fort Wilderness, and initially we would, they had just tent sites, where you bring your own tent. I don't think that's available anymore.
Okay.
Or then they added the cabins, aka single wide mobile homes, um,
Hmm.
and you would book 1 day or 2 days, and then you keep calling back and gradually add another day on one end, another day on the other end. Oh, I got 2 more days, and so keep adding, and gradually over the course of like 3 months of calling them, you might get the full amount you want, but it was a lot of work, and it's
Oh
still
wow.
just as painful. Their website,
Interesting.
and every load of the website takes forever. It's so
It's
slow
probably a pretty
and
busy site.
so
I'm
bad.
assuming people bought it. Yeah, yeah.
Oh
Of
my
course.
god. I mean, so there's this system. Once you're there on property, you're going to go to, say, Magic Kingdom today at 7 a.m. If you've got the Genie Plus, so you've paid the extra 20 to 30 bucks.
Okay.
You've got, at 7 a.m. if you're, well, okay, so when the park opens, which is probably going to be 8 or 8:30, you have to go in and reserve your first lightning lane, which is, where you get to jump to
Right.
the front of the line, and then you can reserve another one every 2 hours after that. But if you're staying on property, then that time is 7 a.m. Okay, so at 7 a.m. you got to wake up. Well, 6:45 you got to wake up and be ready to refresh and then sign in. And for Guardians of the Galaxy, I think I tried immediately at 7 a.m. and I saw there was a 10 a.m. slot, but we weren't. It was probably we'd probably be getting there around 10:30. So maybe I should just refresh and look at the next available slot. And the next available slot, after just like 5 seconds, it was 2 p.m. or 3 p.m. So I mean,
Wow.
all the slots fill up super fast. So they are dealing
Right.
with tens of thousands of people all slamming the site at 7 a.m.
Right.
And that site is responsive. It is fantastic. So they can do
So it's
fast.
possible. Yeah.
They know how to respond to enormous amounts of people quickly, but they're focused on those things and not the general site. And there's so much
I
about
wonder,
the
have you ever built one of those apps where like there's a certain portion that's in the mobile app, but there are portions on the web?
yeah,
Because I have, and sometimes it comes down to like this is a different cost center. It's like a different team
right,
and a
yeah,
different
yeah,
territory. And then there's also like the App Store. Apple, as much as we love you, sometimes
yeah,
getting things through the App Store just for an update to update like a hotel booking
right,
thing can be a massive hurdle. So it's easier to just
yep,
keep it outside. But it does often come down to like one team talking to another team when you go from like
right,
app to other. And it could be like a completely different team running that
yeah,
website as opposed to the
yeah.
internal one. Right? And their
I
incentives
mean,
are totally different. It's like to take
yeah,
longer, so you have to deal with like call them up for help or have somebody like chaperone you through the
right,
process. Whereas like on prem, they don't want to deal with you at all. It's like, no, you paid your money, get
right,
on your rides, let's go.
yeah.
I'm
And
just
Disney.com has existed. I mean, it's been around for a long time. I
right,
mean, they're probably one of the earlier businesses online. Now they've been trying to be super advanced for a long time, but that means
right,
some of the technology being used, I mean, it might be really old. I know some parts of
right.
the company are excited users of AWS Lambda, which has super fast response times as long as you architect it well. But then I'm sure there's still people use some parts of the company that are using like web objects and all that really or Magento or other things that might
Yeah.
not exist anymore. And there's and maybe there's some of that that's using both of those, Magento and AWS Lambda, and super fast, slow, super fast, super slow.
When you're talking about web objects, like that's definitely like what you want for your hotel booking. It's like,
Yeah.
again, no offense to the web objects team. I think they're local here from Vancouver, but like
Oh
honestly, I've
yeah.
seen some really bad
Do they still
just the
exist?
date
Is that
picker widgets. I think web
yeah?
objects got bought by Apple. Like I could be wrong. I feel like this is
Yeah.
one of those
Apple
ones that
seems to
like
be
kind of became
yeah,
iCloud or something.
yeah,
But
yeah.
again,
So
it's been a long time since I dealt with web objects. But
but
making a date picker is hard. It's one of those one
yeah,
microservices that like everybody uses, and like sometimes
yeah,
it's a back end, sometimes it's not the
yep,
actual widget. But yeah, I hear you.
yeah. Yeah, I think generally the app is great. I mean, for being able to see very quickly, okay, I'm walking past this ride. Oh, I see it's or I'm about to um walk over to this ride, and we tried to go on to uh one of the rides. I don't remember what it was, but it was a few hundred feet away. We started walking that way, and I thought, oh, let me look at. Oh, actually, that ride is closed at the moment because
Well,
it seemed like Rise of the Resistance was closed for the last half of the day before we went, and for until it didn't open until 11:30 the next day.
mm,
Um, and so I'm glad we were able to see. What are the what's the line like? Is it worth using one of our lightning lanes, or should we just stand in line because it's only 10
right.
minutes?
Yeah, that observability, if you will, for the ride that
Hmm.
you want to take later on in the day is very important. I feel like
Yeah,
when people
and
understand a queue, they'll manage it
yeah,
better.
and being able to set ahead of time, okay, well, these are the rides most important to me. So don't show me the other rides above that
Right,
list.
right.
So show me the prioritized rides
Nice.
first, and then everything below that. Yeah, there were a lot of really nice pieces in the app. One of the things that I think was we never figured out, with these Magic Bands that we had, Magic Band Plus. So it's like
Mhm.
an extra $10 on the Magic Bands. Um, is the idea of like, I don't know, they were like um things that you could do with the bands, and they would every now and then we'd be walking along, and the band would vibrate, and there was a color flashing on it. It's like, okay, well,
Right.
what next? What do you do with this? If there's no display on here, it's just a ring that lights up.
There's no like lookup table or legend or anything.
No. And then so you think, oh well, maybe because they're paired with my phone, it's going to show something on my phone. Open the phone. No, no details. What does it mean? We never figured out. I mean, you look at the description of, here's why you should buy the Magic Band Plus, because of all these things. how do you use those things? No idea. So we never took advantage of that.
I feel like
That
that's an
was
argument against like hidden UI, right? Like it's cool,
yeah,
you're vibrating. It's cool that it shows a
yeah,
color, but like then
yeah,
what? Like the band should have like a link on it, like when it
yeah,
flashes, go to this. Yes, anything.
yeah, exactly. Or a sign somewhere on. Oh, if you have a magic band that's flashing, do
Stop.
this.
Yeah.
And apparently, they're supposed to be in sync with the fireworks. Supposedly, they there was. I mean, we'd get a notification. Oh, fireworks are starting. Well, we think that it was saying fireworks are starting, but then you'd get there and nobody's bands were flashing to the lights of the fireworks.
Just you.
So I don't know.
Special
Yeah,
fireworks for you at your hotel
yeah,
room.
yeah. Those kind of fireworks. No.
Listen. I will say,
Um,
having gone to like a Disney resort that I wasn't really invited to, I just wanted to see, like how they work after we
yeah.
talked about it. I was in Hawaii and there was one there that we
Oh
went
yeah.
to. It's really interesting to see the amount of cast members compared to like a hotel guest, for example,
Mm,
way higher than any other hotel in the
yeah.
entire island of Oahu, because we like
Yeah.
going in just to see the lobbies and stuff. Some of the architecture is
Yeah.
cool. Many of these buildings have been around for a while. Uh,
Yeah.
there was a lot of staff, and they like greeted us
Yeah.
immediately. They knew we weren't
Yeah.
hotel guests because we did not. That
Yeah.
they're super polite, super nice. Like, hey, what are you trying to
Yep.
get to? What would you like to see? We're just looking around, like, oh, we think you'll really like this. Go over here, kind of thing. We're like,
Yeah.
we didn't want to bother anybody. We just thought we'd like kind of mill about, kind of thing. But no, there was staff everywhere,
Yeah.
everywhere. It was really cool. Even
Yeah.
like the people cleaning rooms and stuff like that. We're like, oh,
Yeah.
you might be lost. Like, it's just for the room.
Yeah.
You have a band, so you're obviously not here. So like, you
Yeah.
probably want to go to the lobby, kind of thing. They're super
Yeah.
nice. Like everybody is super polite, courteous, and stuff like that. And for us, I guess the immediate thing was like this is a different experience. Like this is
Yeah.
not like a standard hotel stay. They treat it like a park, as far as we could tell,
Yeah.
the entire thing. And I was actually really impressed with it. And I did
Yeah.
notice they look like kind of smart bands or something like that. And I was
Yeah.
wondering what they did. So I guess they probably light up as well, letting you know that you can
Yeah.
get to the Splash Mountain thing or whatever.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. And,
Very neat.
and I did at Magic Kingdom, I did the Keys to the Kingdom tour, which is a
Okay.
6-hour tour where they take you behind the scenes, behind the buildings, underground,
Oh,
and you get
nice.
to see all the and they we rode Jungle Cruise, and they talk rather than the goofy jokes, they talked about okay,
Right.
here's how these things were designed, and here's look for this hidden Mickey in this place, and it was amazing. And then we did the Haunted Mansion, and some of the details about there's some of the faces that are um, uh, in the room. Where did those faces come from? Turns out one of them is actually the sculptor for a lot of the pieces that are
Oh,
all around Disney, and the main woman who is doing this incantation turns out to be this woman who was in makeup at the time at Disney World,
very
and
cool.
it's just interesting history. And when we were in the Utilidor, which is the tunnel like thing, the hallways that feel like they're underground, but are actually at the first floor, and all of Disney World is kind of on the second floor.
Okay.
Um, uh, when we were down there, we were under the Cinderella's castle, and we saw one of the characters, which was Cinderella, all dressed up, ready to get into an elevator, and apparently that was going to go up to the stage in Cinderella's castle. But what was especially interesting about that was that at that exact time, the rest of my family, my wife and the two mothers, and especially my daughter, were at the Cinderella's castle lunch something. So there was a lunch, a dining room inside Cinderella's castle, and she was in there, and that's a kind of a meet the characters opportunity.
Cool.
And the Cinderella, the prince, you don't ever know who's going to be there, but it was the Cinderella in the blue dress, and she happened to arrive just after I saw her go up the elevator. So
That's so
that was
cool.
really cool. Yeah, it was, and I mean, yeah, it was great. And Stella, I mean, our daughter loved it. She got to, she's still at the stage where all of this is real.
Of
These are
course.
the real
Yeah.
people. So
Yeah,
Cinderella. She got to meet and hug Cinderella at a
right.
meet and greet there, and as well as Elena of Avalon or something like that, which is another cartoon show on Disney Network,
Okay,
which is she loves. And she got to meet her, and they hugged and they signed
that's awesome.
photographs, and oh, and she was loving it. And she met Chip and Dale, and she met Donald Duck, and she met Goofy, and she was just
Yeah,
in
yeah.
heaven. Yeah, she loved it.
That's really cool. I think being able to like put a face to that experience
Yeah,
that they're having online,
yeah,
or like in Netflix or what have you, Disney Plus.
yeah.
That's really awesome.
So yeah, it was a magical, especially for. I mean, Tony's. I think I relayed the story of why we couldn't go to Disney World
Right.
on a previous episode where
Yep.
I and so I wanted to make sure that Stella's first experience, my wife was a little stressed about this whole trip, and it's like, well,
Right.
we're trying to, we want to see all the things that we want to see, but we also want to have a good experience for Stella, and what about
Right.
our mothers, and oh God, there's
Right.
so many things to juggle. And it's like, no, no, no. The one important thing we need to deal with is make sure that Stella has this amazing experience for her first
Right.
visit to Disney World, and that is my priority. Is if I
Yeah,
don't get to,
that's the bar. Yeah.
yeah,
Anything over
if
that
I
is
don't
bonus.
get to
Yeah.
see anything, okay, but as long as Stella has a great time, and she did, and so she's
That's
gonna
fantastic.
know that Disney World is this magical place because that's the way I feel. I mean, I went to Disney World so much as a child because it was, I mean, if you grow up in Florida and
Right.
I grew up in Miami, and if you get the season or the year pass for Disney World, it's crazy cheap for residents. And so it becomes a cheap vacation as long as you stay at somewhere like Fort Wilderness in the tents or the single wides. It's a pretty
Right.
cheap place to go as a family. Um, and so I have this wonderful memory of Disney World being just magical place, and now Stella does too. And so I was excited about that.
That's really
And we
cool.
got to
I'm
see
so happy
great
to hear
rides
that.
like Guardians of the Galaxy and Rise of the Resistance and Smuggler's Run and all these other amazing, amazing rides. And it's a small
That's
world
awesome.
too.
Well, was there anything? Yeah, listen, that's the one I know. I'm excited about that one.
Yeah.
I don't think a lot of people are. Were there any like any tips that you've got for other people? Like we're kind of in the tips section here.
Yeah.
What would you have to like recommend? So it sounds like the is it Genie Plus is a
Genie
definite
Plus is
recommendation.
absolutely required. I mean, if you've already paid, if you're only getting 1 day access and you're staying at a different hotel because maybe you can't, I mean, the Disney hotels, the reason why everybody doesn't stay there, well, first off, their website's awful. But the other reason a lot of people can't stay there is it's just expensive. I mean, our rooms
Right.
were a
Right.
couple grand a night. I mean, it's crazy expensive. I mean, we had a 2 bedroom villa. So 2 bedrooms and a room in between. And so we had, I guess there's 2 queen size beds, 1 king size bed, and a queen pull-out couch. And I think there was another bed there too. So it's enough for a lot of people to sleep. So it's a big room,
Right.
but still, it's a crazy expensive room, and you can get a very nice place at a Hilton or Hyatt or somewhere off property
Right.
for probably $300. So
Right.
if you're tight on money, there's definitely ways to see Disney World. It's but it's never going to be cheap, and I mean, if you need to buy that Genie Plus because otherwise they're going to make your experience miserable because you're going to wait in line for so long, and you don't have to be. I mean, there's a lot of videos you can watch online about how to use this. It becomes pretty obvious how to do it pretty quickly. Um, and yeah, just get online at 7 a.m. Have that plan of what's that ride that you want to go to, and book that ride. And then 2 hours later, you can book another one and another one and another one. Um, and yeah, so that was, and so I mean, the longest line we waited in was maybe 15 minutes for the longest, and that was most of the rides. I mean, Lightning Lane, all the way. I mean, on all these things, and so we just jumped up to the front. It was great.
I look forward to like the
Um,
Genie Plus reInvent or KubeCon equivalent, where like there's some I don't know in person training or on demand or something like that, where you can
yeah,
go like meet the speakers, but there's
Right.
an app that can like show you how long the line is to get to Matt Williams'
Yeah.
booth. To book it at 7 a.m. I really want to meet Matt and get my
Yeah.
info shirt signed.
Yeah. Yeah, it was great.
That's super good to hear. I'm glad she had a good experience.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of anything else that oh, actually there's I think
He's looking around his desk, folks. This is always a sign.
I showed I think the last time we met I showed this little thing, which is the battery on the Raspberry Pi Zero, the first gen, and I managed to get this one, which is the so there's a Pi Sugar that goes on this is the Raspberry Pi 4.
Gotcha.
So it's a bigger size one.
Right.
I think I was still waiting for this at the time.
You
I
were,
haven't
yeah.
really got. Yeah, I haven't. It turns out it's if you have any case for it is
a little bit too big.
A little bit
That
too
looks pretty
big.
good. Is that the standard Pi case, like the red top?
Yeah. So it's like this is one from CanaKit.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, I use them a lot.
Look at that. It's like
just a bit off.
It's like so close. But yeah, it's I look forward to playing with that.
Yeah, anything where I can add just that extra piece of juice for Raspberry Pi is good.
Yeah. I can't think of anything other cool things.
I've got something for you to recommend.
Yeah,
what you probably could have used before leaving, but I didn't know. So there's this comedian, we'll call it a persona, called Philomena Kunk. Have you come across this person? Kunk rhymes just junk. I'll spell it out just in case, because I think it's supposed to be a funny pun as well. It's C-U-N-K, as in kangaroo. Philomena Kunk is very much, imagine a documentary style, but in comedy. So I won't go as far as Mr. Bean, but imagine a funny character trying to be an Attenborough or whatever. So you see them staring off into the vista, and then the camera pans around, and it turns out they're just looking at their phone, or maybe they trip over an entrance to a building as they're trying to show off, and maybe making fun of the documentary genre quite a bit. But it's on Netflix, and the recommendation, I guess, is Conk on Earth, which is Philomena Kunk talking about Earth. Similar to Attenborough, might have like Blue Planet or whatever, Green Planet, what have you. But the back episodes, like Kunk on Britain or Kunk on Christmas, or any of these other ones that are on YouTube, are hilarious. Not that the Netflix one isn't, but would highly recommend watching the older stuff because it is just as good, if not better. And it's super, super funny. She's hilarious. A lot of the interviews are very similar to like Between Two Ferns, very uncomfortable questions that you should not ask any scientists ever. Who am I really? Or like, am I really here to a philosopher? It was pretty fun to watch them squirm. But yeah, it's quite good. Would highly recommend Philomena Kunk, and pretty much anything I've seen has been amazing. Super funny. Very you can learn, but you need to understand that it's satire. So please don't learn from her. But when she's interviewing people, they do give a lot of good backstory and kind of perspective, which I thought was good. Also, it's English. Cool. I feel like British humor just hits a little bit different.
Cool. I'm just looking at YouTube, and there's like Kunk on Britain and a bunch.
Tons. Yeah. Tons. Yeah, the bit about Brexit's pretty funny. Now that we've decided that we're not part of Europe, it's just like, great.
Brexit. That was so annoying that I have a British passport, and now that British passport is not as valuable.
Right.
It's very frustrating.
Yes.
Just from my personal selfish point of view.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I believe, my understanding is that many Britons who voted for Brexit also did not realize that their very valuable passport would not be valuable anymore, or the things that they expect to receive on a regular basis may then need to go through some sort of customs. Yeah. It's rough.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all I got. We do have some papers to read, I think, and reports. Maybe we were open source. I will read them, but I'm happy to talk about those at any time. I think one of them is even sponsored by that I work for, so I can be a little bit careful there.
Sponsored by Datadog. It's interesting. Sponsored by Datadog and Dynatrace.
Yeah, it happens.
Friends frenemies? I don't
Yeah.
know.
Listen, no, hey, I think we're more than happy to share the stage with other
Yeah,
monitoring companies.
yeah.
It's a wide, wide world out there. People want to know what's going on, just like your Genie Plus may monitor rides. There may
What
be other monitoring.
what? Oh, so you haven't touched either of these? There was that
I
one,
have
and
not,
what was the other one?
which is why I feel like the other one was from Perforce, but it was a little bit interesting in that the Perforce one was written by a Perforce. I think it's either a sub brand or sub company, OpenLogic. It
Mm,
felt like they were trying to get OpenLogic to be more of the name here as
yeah,
opposed to Perforce. I don't know if you've ever used
right.
Perforce before. I certainly have. It's not that popular for uh, source code management outside of the gaming
Yeah, I
industry or
feel
outside
like
of like for us it was Android.
I feel like it was something that, because they've been around a long time, right? It's like
Very
one of
long
the
time. Yep.
earliest of the commercial, because it was like PVCS, is it? Is that
P4C. Yeah. Perforce
okay?
client. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you're right. Yeah, it could be PVS, which is like the Perforce versioning system. It's quite possible.
Right.
But yeah, they were an alternative to CVS, which is like super old
Mm,
or like before SVN. So yeah, Perforce
right.
has been around for sure. And their
Yeah.
claim to fame, I think, is being able to handle like large blobs. So if you've got like images or in gaming, maybe like a WAD
Yeah.
file or some sort of resource file, yeah, it's for us. We had a whole bunch of like static, files that like what do you call them? Binary blobs, I guess, as they are affectionately called in
Hmm.
the Linux world. But when you've got like a driver that's closed source, sometimes you have to ship those with your Android. Uh, yeah, this is when when you're dealing with like a lot of big files and you need to ship them out all
Yeah.
together. Felt like that was the strength. Anyway, so that's the one on the state of open
Cool.
source. And then the other one was the CNCF annual survey, which I feel like they're
Yeah.
both quite good. Different views
Yeah.
of similar areas.
Yeah. Is it down at the bottom of this CNCF one? It's
Hmm.
listing it. Is this report? Oh, this report is using data from the Datadog container report, container orchestration report, and Docker research report, and a similar Kubernetes in the wild report from Dynatrace.
You got it.
Cool. Interesting.
Yeah, happy to talk about it. So between now and
Yeah.
then, we'll read. Yes,
We'll both read it. Yeah.
perfect. I think it's handy for our day jobs as well. So it's like kind of
I think
it's
so.
good. All right, sir. Happy
Cool.
to catch up as always.
Yeah.
I'm glad to hear that the conference went well, both of them, and that you're able to take the entire family with you. Also a good thing.
Yeah. Yeah. It was great. Great. Also, so we got back on Sunday night, and so I'm ready to go back to work because I've been off for a while. And
Mhm.
it's like, oh, but it's a holiday, so you can't come back till tomorrow. It's like, holidays.
Shoot.
Darn.
Yeah, we had Family Day, which is
Family day.
different
Yes.
priorities.
Yeah.
President,
So,
families. I mean, they're both important.
well, I figured that because our company is there's two people in America, and the rest of the company, or the rest of the seven, are in Canada. We
Awesome.
celebrate both those and so because I knew it was Family Day and it was President's Day, and so somebody said, oh, it's President's Family Day, so therefore it's Joe Biden Day, right? Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah, of course.
Fair.
Okay. All right, let's end this. Let's
All right,
find that
sir.
button. Where's that button to end the broadcast?